The agenda is right here. And so Jane was kind enough to send out the minutes, and they are right here. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, they'll stand approved as sent. Thanks, Jane.
You're welcome.
The next item would be website stats. I did take a look at the recent ones. Well, that's not what I wanted. What do I want here? There we go. Nothing dramatically different over the last month. We've had, I believe, over the last, I think we had more page views than usual, and it was I guess some sort of a record. They were saying that we had more page views in the past month than we've had since we started this website. And so, but again, I don't think that it's the problem is there's still most of these page views are coming in from outside of the US. And so here's a look at our user for the month of May, and again, our country is leading is Indonesia, Nepal, Hong Kong, and then the US. And so we're getting the same sort of unusual, well, I guess not unusual, but the same kind of out of country hits on the website. There is Germany and then Canada. That must be you, Jane. But again, we don't have a lot of information if we look at where these are coming from. They don't have a set place. In fact, as I did a little bit more looking, the main browser that people are coming in on are phone browsers, are the Android browser. So it looks like most of these are coming in with mobile phones, and so I mean, I'm not sure why or what that means, but it looks to me like something is happening that is our website's available, I guess, or our website is something that people are hitting, but that's about all we know about it.
Chris, do we know whether those pages are public pages or private?
The only thing we know for sure is that well, we are sure that they're not private pages. There's just no way for people to get into and so almost, if you can see here, the main page views are the home page. And so
Chris, we're not seeing it. We're seeing the agenda.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Let me see what I'm doing wrong here. There we go. Yeah, the homepage is getting the majority of the page views, and so it looks to me like the the next highest page would be the login page. And so we are getting people that are internal that are using the private part of the website are having to log in, and we have no reason to believe that anybody outside of people that are accepted users of ours are getting into the login page. The forms is often used by the office as well as by people that are submitting work requests and things like that. Announcements are getting a fair number of hits. What's new? Again, it looks like forms here might be user submitted. So this is probably more the forms that people are using for requests. The forms up here is, I think, mainly being used by the office. The office is using the request information more than they used to, and so I think these are the office use of that. And then the for sale for rent, we don't have too many things out there right now. Maps, resident directory, and floor plans, which are kind of expected. I know that's what I personally use a lot is the directory, the floor plans, and the maps. And so those are the top 10.
Well, it's very odd. That's still not anywhere near 100%.
Right. Yeah, that I can't answer. I'd have to do some additional analytics, I guess, ask some questions to those folks, because you're right. I don't know if this is the number of total page views, I believe, for the month. You know, what are all the other page views? I can't answer that. Yeah, I'll have to see if there's a way for me to query the analytics people and see if I can get some additional information. Anything else on this? There's a lot of stuff here. As you can see on the left-hand side, there's an awful lot of choices. And again, I'm not sure how some of these choices work. You take a look at behavior here, and you have new versus returning and things like that, and you can see that we have new visitors and returning visitors, and you can see that the returning visitors seem to match more our regular users. Their sessions are longer, their page numbers are bigger. So I'll see if I can ask them more about. The next item would be where did I put it? Somewhere here. There we go. The hybrid meetings update. Basically, the last meeting, the May board meeting, went better than any one we've had at the church prior to this. The changes we made to the sound for the Zoom participants worked well, and so we basically connected the soundboard to my computer for Zoom, so the people on Zoom were hearing the same thing that it was going out to the speakers in the church. So I talked to two people that were on Zoom. We didn't have a lot of people on Zoom. We had, I think, 6. And but I talked to Leslie Jacobs and Marv Howard, and they both said the sound was really, really good, much improved over previous sessions at the church. And I know that Leslie spoke up a couple times in the meeting, trying to make some comments, and they were able to hear her very well in the room, and told her to be patient and wait for her turn. And then the camera recording was done, and Jane, I know you looked at it and thought that it went pretty well, and we had Tiffany Conklin, who was there. Tom Couillard has been sort of the camera guy for the first few meetings, and he's not. He's out of town, and so Tiffany agreed to do it, and I think she was a little better at zooming in on a little bit on the speakers, and seemed to go out of her way to make sure that she could get an angle on some of the people that were close by her, and so I think it worked out pretty well.
Dick Picola was a little bit of an obstacle several times.
Yeah, you're right. He was between Tiffany and John, and so Tiffany tried to get around him, but we may have to see if we can maybe place the camera in a little different spot.
Well, if he was aware of it, he could have just backed up a couple of inches. You know, he every time she seemed to pan over to John, he leaned forward, and so she would have to raise or move the camera again.
Right.
I have a suggestion.
Sure.
And I made this screen sharing device.
Okay.
Can you see my screen sharing? That's a joke.
Yeah.
But what I propose is that I know Chris and the camera have to be next to each other. The computer for the Zoom needs to be on a short cable. Why don't you and the camera sit in the middle of the room so you will have a clear angle on everybody at the table? And then for the audience, which doesn't have to be on camera until they're speaking, the camera can twirl around and face this way.
Right.
And nobody's obstructed. And what we get on the in-camera recording is a much more useful, understandable rendition of the meeting, such as it is. Okay.
Well, and we used to have the camera in the middle of the room like that when we did the church and when we were only doing the camera and not a Zoom. Right. The one drawback of that is that for the sound system, the soundboard is usually up front on the table next to a couple of seats down from from Steve is where Roger usually sits, and he's got the soundboard. So we have to be fairly close to that soundboard.
Does it have to be a short, is there any deterioration if the cable's long? There shouldn't be.
You know, we haven't tried that. The cables that I bought were only about 5 or 6 feet long. And so I know there was a longer, in fact, I think I should have bought a longer one, but I don't know how long they can go. I'll have to see. We can certainly look into that.
Well, there'd be a lot more wires involved than just that. I mean, you'd have to run power for your laptop and everything else too. So there'd be wires across, running across the floors and in a couple of directions.
Well, we would maybe be able to have it sort of right on the corner of your picture, Lynn, you know, where maybe on the left, just right where the end of the circle on the left side, we would maybe be able to do it there and have less cable or cords and things. And in fact, if we did it there, and we might even be able to have Roger sitting next to me with the soundboard. And so I don't know whether there's any real good reason why, other than the mics are now cabled. And so that here comes Roger now. Maybe we can ask him. Good morning, Roger.
Good morning. Sorry I'm late.
Oh, no, you're fine. We just got to, we have been talking about you. And Lynn brought up a good suggestion, and that is that if we could have the camera located more in the center of the room, or at least out closer to the audience, we could get a little better. Yeah, there's Lynn's picture.
Yep.
We could do a little bit better job with the camera work.
Yep.
The issue would be if we were trying to Zoom at the same time, can we set the soundboard up on the end of that circle? In other words, have you sitting, if I put the camera over on sort of the left end of that circle, can you have the soundboard close enough that we can connect to the soundboard?
Yeah, the soundboard can be put anywhere, and we've got lots of. Was it Dennis Lee? He bought lots of wire, so we have lots of wire to work with. So yeah, we can put that soundboard anywhere.
Well, that would make a big difference in having the sound for Zoom purposes be much better than what we've had in the past. So we can certainly we can certainly try that.
Yeah, we try that in the fall. I won't be there for June, so we're not going to do it in June.
And that's one of the questions that I thought we should at least discuss. Tiffany has agreed to do the camera recording at the June meeting. So we would have a record of the meeting, but I don't know how we could do Zoom.
I don't either, and I don't know I mean, John could do it, but he's not going to do everything you do.
Have they decided? Have they decided the location yet?
Yeah, it's going to be at the church.
They talked about the church at the May meeting.
Why is that?
I have no clue. They thought that because there were so many residents that came to this past meeting, that they'd be overflowed with residents again.
What was that about? 15 residents?
Yes. Something like that. 18, I think.
Yeah, there were some residents there, and I think that, Roger, you might want to address that with Steve and John about the availability of Zoom for board members that aren't going to be there.
Yeah. I'll send John and Steve a quick note, a quick email today, because I don't know who's going to run the sound either, because nobody has shown any interest in learning what I've been doing.
Right. Yeah, so I I was disappointed when they thought that they should do it in the church next time.
Yeah, I think they need to rethink it.
I hope they do. I hope they do, because in the office, we could definitely have Zoom available, and people like you, and I'm guessing there may be some other people on the board that might not be in Bradenton in June and July, and so I would again hope that you guys could address that or suggest maybe.
I'll send them an email right after this meeting and say, we had the IT meeting and these are our concerns.
Right.
Okay.
And like I said, Tiffany has agreed to run the camera for the meeting, so there would be a recording. And so she and I'll make sure she has the camera, and she can take the video off of the little storage device that's in the camera, and put it in a Dropbox, and I can put that. I should be able to put that up within a day or so after the June meeting.
Maybe you should suggest to her that she sit out on one of the ends.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that way she'd be able to get a bigger view of the board, whoever's there, and the audience.
Right.
If she was to
No,
sit out on one of the corners.
Yeah, and I think that we did that actually for one of the workshops.
Okay.
Is it possible that the laptop that the office owns could be placed in the room so that at least the camera could see it when there's a speaker on Zoom? I mean, if we're going to have this many board members Zooming, that might be a little better than just having these voices in the coming from space.
Yeah, I think you could easily do that. You're simply going to turn the camera around, or turn the laptop around. Yeah, I don't see why that couldn't happen.
The issue there too at the church is somebody's got to remind Jeff to flip that breaker so that the Wi-Fi is turned on.
Right. And you have to have a Wi-Fi password and things like that.
Oh, did you have to have a password for you?
Yeah, you do.
Oh,
And see,
okay.
with my computer, it remembers the password, so I don't have to put it in every time. But
Okay.
if John or somebody else would try to Zoom from the church, they'd have to have that password.
Okay.
Another question, Roger, before you speak to John or email John, is how many board members will be
Out of town?
Zooming?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Potentially Zooming, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know whether you plan to be there, George?
I am not sure. I wasn't planning on it, but now we might be leaving a day later, and so I might be able to attend. But we were going to leave on the 20th, but now we're thinking we're going to delay it one more day. So I'm not sure at
Okay.
this point.
Well, again, in the past, what they relied on was the phone system. Actually, the last year during COVID, we've done the Zoom. Last summer, I Zoomed from.
Well, it was exclusively Zoom. There were no meetings. Everything was Zoomed.
Right. So I was Zooming and starting it from Ohio, and so that worked out.
It's been very rare in the past. Anybody that's not in residence feels, any board member that's, I'm not saying this to you, George, so don't be offended by what I'm about to say. But in the past, when board members have left for the summer, they've left for the summer. They don't want any part of it. They don't want to attend a board meeting, and they never have. Now with Zoom, it's been a little different and people have been a little bit more proactive in joining, but I still think that if they're away, they're more than likely going to skip.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think in the past, Leslie used to call in, and when I was on the board, I used to call in, but you're right.
There's
One of
several
the
that
guy-
did not.
Well,
One
The
in
one
particular.
The one
John
time I
Humphrey
missed
was
that-
notorious.
Notorious.
He never
Yeah.
called in.
Right.
It was kind of
I-
hard. It was kind of hard last time I was in transit. So I had one other time that I called in on the Zoom and I was in the Outer Banks and I couldn't keep the connection. So
Right. It depends
know,
on where we are.
it depends on where
understand
you
that.
are. Right.
Yep. Up until last summer, I had no internet at the campground that I stay at. And I was using cell data off my hotspot. And that
Right.
was, you know, up and down. Now we have full internet.
Yeah, it's amazing how the whole internet infrastructure issue in the United States has not been addressed as well as you might think it has been.
Well, I went to one meeting in a McDonald's restaurant. I just bought a coffee and sat there and I had my iPad. So
Well, and I use my sister-in-law's Wi-Fi that's next door for me, so she's been gracious enough to let us do that. So Roger, you'll take a look at that. The next item would be the palm trimming page. We actually haven't. I haven't been. Tiffany and I have talked about it, but I didn't sort of. I thought she was going to give me something, and she hasn't yet. But I did post some of the information she shared with the Landscape Committee. So if you take a look at the Landscape Committee page, you'll see there are 4 or 5 documents there that are under palm tree trimming, and that would be some of the information. I actually think I'm going to add. I mean, I'll talk to Tiffany if she wants a separate page, which may make sense. But I actually think that one of the things that we might want to do, and I was gonna do this because I've been watching and looking at the palms lately. I'm taking a big interest in this issue, and just identifying what the palms are that we have. And one of the really good website, South Florida Plants, and it has trees. It has what they divide palms into large palms and small palms, and they have very nice description of the different plants, and they have pictures. And so I thought I'd put some links into some of those pages, particularly the ones of the palms that we have. And sometimes the palms that we have aren't named the same way as we think they should be. And one of the ones that I think is one of the most beautiful palms that we have is what I call a pineapple palm. And they are the palms that are on the sides of the boulevard down near us, down near Lakeside and Woodlawn. And from sort of where the tree is in the middle of the boulevard and Oakview, where that intersection is, the big tree intersection. If you go on towards Lakeside from there, there are these big pineapple palms on both sides of the boulevard. And they're beautiful, I think. I think they're one of the neatest palms that we have. I remember one in Palm Tree as you were coming into Cluster K, was right in front of the mailboxes there, was big tree, and it's gone. They said it had some disease, and they had to take it down. They replaced it, I think, with magnolia. But that's one tree that we have. It's actually not called pineapple. I mean, pineapple palm is sort of a common name for it. It's actually a Canary Island date palm, and so that's one of the trees we have. We have royal palms, and what we have a predominance of are sable palms. And I don't find sable palms listed the way I think they should be. I think they're actually a fan palm. But that is the predominant palm we have. And so I would like to sort of have this palm page have some descriptions and some information about the main kinds of palms that we have. We also have Areca palms. They are usually clump. We have some really interesting fishtail palms. They were planted, at least a couple of them have been planted to in places where we lost big banyan trees, and especially between Palm Tree and Lakeside in that big open green space, there were two sort of clumps of fishtail palms planted after the hurricane in 2018. And these things are now 30 feet high. They're very fast growers, and they're in a bunch, and they look very healthy, and they're, I think, a really nice palm to have. And I've seen them start to plant some of those in some of the little islands in a cluster, where there's a little grassy spot between parking spots. They put at least a couple of those palms in there. So I think that's a good one. And there are date palms. I have one in my courtyard. I don't see a lot of them out in common areas, but I see them in courtyards. They seem to be a tree that people, because they don't get real big. So anyway, that's I think we need to. The issue is really whether we should be trimming them for hurricane season, and I suggested to the landscape committee we don't trim anything except dead fronds, and that wasn't approved. But they did agree to only trim from basically 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and so that's less trimming than we have been doing. So we'll see how that works. Hopefully that would be better for the tree, and it doesn't really impact hurricane issues at all. That's been pretty much a misconception.
I'm really glad that Tiffany is excited and took that on, because I have argued for years that they've trimmed those trees too much and they're wasting their money, and that money could be better spent on trimming some of the dead stuff out of the oak trees that comes down every time the wind blows and is damaging people's cars. And actually having a conversation with John, I haven't had it yet. That's another email I've got to send him. One of my neighbors has had her car repaired multiple times, and her insurance company has said, no more, we're not paying this anymore. Go to your association, let them pay for it.
Yeah.
It's there. That's why you're getting damaged. They actually came out to see where she parked And they said, okay, we're not paying for this anymore.
Good.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna start seeing people coming to John and saying, okay, my car's got, it's what she told me right now, her car's got $2,500 worth of damage to the roof. And
Wow.
her insurance company is recommending she go to the association to get paid for it. And if she does, that's gonna stir the pot.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
You look
Well,
like you're gonna say something, Lynn. Go ahead. What do you want to say,
I
Lynn?
first I'm so glad to hear your position and to hear that you're getting involved in the tree trimming issue, especially because we've had this minuscule tree trimming budget. At least a third of it goes to the palm tree cutting.
Oh, I'd
And-
say more than 2/3 goes to palm tree trimming.
Yeah,
Oh, is
Yeah.
that right?
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely.
What I would like to propose, and what I suggested the last meeting, is that we give this issue a more prominent, the palm tree issue, a more prominent place on the website. And that we have a sort of introductory page separate from the nuts and bolts pages
okay.
from university and so on. I recommend to everybody, last night after I looked at your agenda, Chris, excuse me, I wondered whether that information that Tiffany had spoken about was posted on the web. Sorry. And I noticed it wasn't in announcements and went over to the landscape committee, and there it is with no fanfare at all. And then I listened, I watched, putting that in quotes, the video of the meeting, and I recommend that to everybody who feels strongly about this issue. Because it makes very clear what the, Roger, what the other side is,
Mhm.
which is a very painful position. They don't look as pretty, essentially. And then the other reason for cutting them, as we have been, is that they get calls to the office. Really? It's like, everything that happens around here, if it gets a call to the office, that triggers, there's a crisis. People think, well, of course you get calls to the office. Nobody calls and says, I really like the way you're trimming. So why that's a measure of how we should formulate policy, I have no idea. But that little video of that discussion is a gem as far as insights into what the mountain that we have to climb if we agree with Tiffany and Roger and so on, and Chris. Chris, you gave a wonderful, impassioned presentation. And I appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, and I think that attitude that people expect us to do the hurricane trimming, and that we'll be hearing a lot of people calling if they don't do it. I just think that's probably not true. I don't think most people even realize what that trimming is about. And I to be personally, I haven't looked at the way the palm trees looked until recently. And as I look around, I would say that almost all the sable palms don't need to be trimmed at all.
Right.
They're already in a 9-3 situation or less. I'm serious. Some of them have been trimmed, and I think some of them have been trimmed by our people, and they've been trimmed way too severely. And so I think that in general, we could actually do an inventory here and tell Brown that 2/3 of the trees or palms don't need to be trimmed at all. And I would hope that would save us some money. As you saw in the meeting, Lynn, John talked to Brown, and Brown doesn't believe that this is harmful to trees, and he doesn't want to give us any break in the cost either. So
Well, he works for us.
Right. And I think that it was at least mentioned in that meeting that perhaps we should be considering maybe another tree trimmer. So,
And I did think I saw something that John was going to be looking for other pricing.
yeah.
My thing is, if it's brown, cut it down. Everything else, leave it alone. I don't care if it's 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, or 2 o'clock. If it's green, leave it alone. And if it's
Right.
brown, cut it down. And because that's the thing that people complain about when they come in, they see all these dead branches and dead palms and things. I don't want to see that either. I mean, that's what needs to be trimmed, and to waste a lot of money and time doing this aggressive trimming every year is just it's got to change, because it's not right. It's not healthy for the trees.
And I think that we can be involved in helping educate people on this. And I have plans to put it in the announcements area, and I can start setting up a page as well. I just today downloaded a clip art of a palm tree, so I have the start of what I need to put it in the announcements area. So I feel real strongly about it, and I think that we have enough impetus, and Tiffany is really responsible for that, of getting the association to change our policy here.
Well, I live in Palm Tree, and since I've lived here, I'm here 5 years now. 7 palm trees have been removed. And 6 of them, the royal palms, they were like 30, 40 feet high. And it seems when these trees go, they go quickly. I mean, one day they're fine, and then the next day they're dying. And that's what happened to that beautiful pineapple palm. I mean, it was just fantastic. And maybe it's the over trimming that does it.
Yeah, I don't think we know for sure, but I think that obviously the experts that don't recommend as much trimming as we've been doing say that does create potential issues for the tree as far as insects and diseases. And so I think that would
then in that case, it's costing us more than the trimming fees.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, we're spending almost 30,000 on hurricane trimming.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Well, and they do some other trimming as well. They don't do just palms, and they do a lot of the carrot woods, and the carrot woods usually do need some trimming. But you're right. I don't think they do much on the oaks.
Don't touch them.
Yeah.
Can I just?
Please.
I think getting back to what the website can do, if we have a page, if we have a paragraph in the announcements, linking it to a page that frames the issue, so that we begin to introduce the idea of people thinking about this as owners who are not just people who appreciate, pretty manicured grounds, but we become the stewards of all this natural Florida landscape, and that we sort of nudge people to think differently about how we take care of the place. And then that can have links to all the specific documents.
Right.
That's my suggestion.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the one thing that I think people, one of the best articles that Tiffany sent was one where they compared the hurricane cut with much less severe cut, and the much less severe cut withstands a hurricane wind better than the hurricane cut. So the idea that this is going to help us prevent damage from hurricanes just doesn't hold up. So one of the other items which was mentioned in the landscape meeting, which I think is something we should be, well, I agreed that we would post on the website, is the fertilization schedule, and perhaps an announcement when fertilization is going to take place. It's usually the last week of the month, and I guess we do it pretty much every month. And some months we just fertilize, and other months we do some sort of herbicide, insecticide, or fungicide, as well as fertilization. So I think it would be, we had an owner that was concerned about it. She brought it up at the board meeting, and she brought it up in a letter to the landscape committee, and so they agreed that we would put it on the website when it was going to happen, and that they would post it on the mailboxes as well when fertilization and I made the point that fertilizers shouldn't be a big problem for pets. Insecticides, on the other hand, could be. Insecticides are much more potent, even than herbicides. Insecticides and fungicides, you want to make sure that people are aware of that. And according to John, they don't have to post a lot of signs. I think they do pretty much try to post in every cluster, but they aren't necessarily required to do that.
What I found unusual is he said they only have to put up one sign.
Yeah. And I think I didn't realize that West Bay is now something else. It's got another name.
Oh, the trucks, the last time they were here, still said West Bay.
Yeah, but I think they're under another company's name now. And they tend to sometimes be here on the weekends, and they tend to sometimes be here after hours. I mean, after normal daylight business hours. And so I think people sometimes notice them more than even our own people. So we're more than happy to make sure that those kinds of announcements get done. And I guess it's similar to our pesticide schedule. If we wanted to, we could even have some sort of schedule. I don't know whether they're always here on the same day, or whether it's just that last week of the month they're here sometime during that week. I'd have to ask John that. So we will be posting that. Are there any other issues?
I just want to make a comment to Lynn's, follow up to Lynn's comment about people calling the office, Lynn. I think one of the things that I'm not exactly sure how to promote it, but the responses that people get when they call the office, I think many times that response is, okay, we'll take care of it. And so we're using a reactionary management style, which is not a good thing. It needs to be more proactive and more pre-planning. But it does seem, as you say, somebody calls and says, oh, this looks like that, or this didn't get done. And it's a reaction, okay, go do it right away. And I think the case in point that we can point to that really is obvious that made a lot of people upset, particularly Leslie, was the arrow painting issue. When somebody said, well, nobody's following the arrows, and John sent somebody right out and painted the arrows black so you couldn't see them. So, okay, get rid of the arrows. Well, that wasn't the point. So I think a lot of what goes on there is a reaction to a phone call. And I think that we have to encourage, and maybe working with Steve, I can encourage Steve to encourage John not to be quite so reactionary and to look at the bigger picture. And that could lead us down the right path with the landscape committee too, to get them to change their way of thinking on trimming these trees.
I think that's a very good point, and I'm very glad that you zeroed in on that. I think what I was suggesting a minute ago, that we see our role as educating people, that the website can serve to reframe the issue so that people think about it differently. If we would take an active role in this response, for example, people would say, oh, I don't read the website. Well, print out a single page and have it available in the office. So John, his response doesn't have to be, I'll fix it for you. It can be, we're trying to broaden our thinking, and here's how you find out.
Right. I like that.
We can really be active in this.
Yeah, I agree. We, it unfortunately, I mean, I do, I am still disappointed in the number of people that actually access the website. It's not that many. And one of the things that's even more disappointing is that we've had a number of board members that have never been on the website. So I don't know how we correct that, but that's one of our goals would be to try to get more people interested and I just in fact, Jane, I just took my classified ad down. I was trying to get rid of a TV and the Habitat for Humanity now has a TV and I don't have one for sale anymore. But we don't get a lot of people looking at our classifieds either. And so I don't know how we can change that.
Maybe we should publicly list all the board members who've never been on the website and shame them.
George, you were muted.
Yeah, I tried to delete something that I had on the classified and I was unable to. Is that it's just placed for 90 days and then it automatically drops? Is that how it works?
Yeah, but if you email Jane, she can take it off.
Oh, no, it's not a big thing. I just said it's obviously not going to sell and it's kind of silly to keep it on. It's been a couple of months and I said, well, let me take it off.
Yeah.
So I went in to take it off. I thought it said to edit, but I could edit, but I couldn't remove it. I couldn't delete it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
It's all right. No, not a big deal. It's just.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I couldn't do it unless I went into the admin side to.
I just thought if I was the person that put it on, I should be the person that could take it off if I wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's say if I sold it.
Yeah.
Then I would have to remember to tell Jane to take it off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
You want it off?
Sure, you can take it off. I mean, like I said, it's not like a big issue. It's just that if somebody puts something on, they put a bicycle on, and 3 weeks later it sells. If they don't remember to tell you, it's going to just stay on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same thing with rentals and home sales. They need to contact us to take it off.
Right. Right. Okay.
There's a really nice tricycle on there right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, an adult, pretty yellow. Okay, anything else? I suggested that our next meeting would be in August rather than in July or June. And is there any objections to that? Okay, I believe it would be August 26th is the last Friday in August. And I'm guessing that we'll need to have some discussion about next year's budget at that meeting. So we'll keep that in mind. And
That'll be kind of late, Chris, because
yeah,
definitely you'll have to talk about the budget for sure.
Yeah, I think they usually want us to present something to them prior to that. You're right. And I can send an email out. I don't expect a whole lot of changes in what we've been doing.
More cables. Always more
Yeah.
cables.
Yeah. Yeah, we might want to, it was suggested that maybe we want some cables like what we hooked up, Roger, that were longer so that we wouldn't have to be quite so close to the soundboard.
Yeah, especially for the sound going to the Zoom.
Right.
I know we were experimenting with that. You bought the wire to see, did it work? Okay, that works. All right, so now let's get the longer wire so we can properly set it up and have some space to move around. But yeah, I would agree.
Okay, that sounds good.
agree.
We'll keep that in mind for our next budget. And we actually have room in this budget too, so. Okay, is everybody happy?
Yes, very happy.
And I hope we all have an enjoyable summer, and we'll hope we don't see any hurricanes.
Yeah.
And I should
Have a
be
nice
back,
weekend.
Chris. I'm expecting to be back on the 19th of August.
Yeah, we're probably going to be back somewhere around the middle of August.
Okay. Enjoy.
Okay. All right.
Have a
Take
good
care,
weekend.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.